It's been almost a year since I made my first Gaming in the Pandemic video, in which I talked about some of the games that made life in lockdown a bit easier for my family and I. And while since then we have seen vaccines rolled out, lockdown measures become more relaxed, and a new variant emerge, gaming has remained as important as ever for me and for people all over the world. My family and I rung in 2021 by making a trip to our island of Kamana in Animal Crossing. This was the game that got us through the toughest times during lockdown, by giving us a virtual private island in which to play in. But birds gotta leave the nest at some point. The kids were itching to move on to the blocky worlds of Roblox and Minecraft. And I had made a New Year's resolution to go through my backlog of PlayStation games. So everyone except for my wife Faria left the island. I guess she had gone native because she quite liked the island life. To be honest, it was probably the only place she could have some peace and quiet away from us. In the meantime, my son Kian went off to play one of the OG Squid games, Splatoon 2, Nintendo's kid-friendly online paint shooter game. While the game is known for its multiplayer, Kian played the robust single-player campaign. It had a lot of ingenious level design and awesome platforming challenges. You really need to have good reflexes and to keep your wits about you to complete the levels. Kian was very good at it, but would sometimes pass me the controller for the more challenging bits. My daughter Liana asked me to play Sackboy A Big Adventure with her, which is an absolutely beautiful game. It consists of wondrous handcrafted worlds, full of pretty textures, sparkly objects, and playful designs. The music was super catchy, the levels were a joy to play, and there were cool secrets around every corner. At first, Liana seemed to derive more enjoyment from pushing me around and messing me up. At least until she realized that I could be very helpful in getting her through the stages. It's a great cooperative game and was a great bonding experience for us.
It's me! Ow! Give it back! Ow! Hey, come on! Quit it! Give it back! Give it back!
We haven't completed it yet, and the reason for that is because Liana still goes back to Astro's Playroom, which launched with the PS5 in 2020.
I must go down. Whoa, Daddy. Whoa!
Wow, look at that.
The game is so delightful that I can't blame her. We had completed all the levels and finished the game, but she still wanted to play it more. So we replayed levels to get all the secrets, artifacts, and missing jigsaw pieces to fill up her PlayStation collectibles room. There are a lot of Easter eggs in the game, so while playing I would point out cameos by other famous PlayStation characters, like Crash Bandicoot, Nathan Drake from Uncharted, Kratos and Loki from God of War, Sackboy from Little Big Planet, Joel and Ellie from The Last of Us, Ally from Horizon Zero Dawn, and Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
Liana even found some cameos on her own.
Wait, Daddy, I found something secret. Look.
It's Lara Croft! Look at her, see? She's always jumping and stuff.
Hey, Mom, look, it's Lara Croft.
Speaking of Lara Croft, I decided to play Shadow of the Tomb Raider from my backlog first. This is the last of the Tomb Raider reboot trilogy, and I had enjoyed the other installments quite a bit. So I got back into Lara's hiking boots and performed various death-defying stunts on my quest to retrieve a supernatural artifact. I liked that this game had a lot more emphasis on tomb raiding and solving puzzles, which were elements that weren't as heavy in the previous two games. Since this trilogy has really been the origin story of Lara Croft, I love how it ended with her emerging as the kick-ass character we all know so well. The next game I played was Horizon Zero Dawn, and it became one of my favorite games of all time, almost up there with The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. I'm normally not a fan of open world games, as there is too much to do and I get fatigued by them, but the gameplay loops in Horizon Zero Dawn were so satisfying that it's the only game that I ever platinumed. Fighting robot dinosaurs and animals with a vast array of cool weapons also never gets old. While it took me a little while to get into the game initially, the world building is so strong and the sci-fi story that unfolds is so interesting that I got completely hooked in. They could easily create an awesome TV series based on this game, and it would be a Game of Thrones type crossover hit. Of course, I just didn't play single player games during this time. My friends and I continued to play Uncharted 4 multiplayer online. This really took up the bulk of my gaming time. Every one of us had gotten really good, so the matches were very competitive no matter what the team combinations were.
Just like this, yes, get out of here. Got him.
Why, how did that one die?
We became better at various aspects of the game, including throwing grenades,
How did you die?
and reviving each other with magical stones, which could turn a game around completely.
Sad, one?
Behind you, yes, behind you.
As always, we had a great time playing Uncharted, talking smack and generally shooting the shit and each other for bragging rights. Super Mario 3D World arrived right on time for Liana's birthday. It was a remaster of the Wii U game which I had played by myself back in the day. Liana and I usually play platform games like this together, but this time Faria and Kina also grabbed some controllers to join in the fun. We finally got to game as a family, 4 people on one screen. It was a lot of fun playing through the colorful variety of levels, getting different power-ups, and engaging in boss fights as a team. At times, things could get downright chaotic, but the game had the usual Mario charm, and we were all shouting directions at each other and laughing like crazy, so it was a pure winner in my book. Faria finally gave up on the Animal Crossing island life, and looking for a new game to play, she settled on New Pokemon Snap, a relatively peaceful game where you take pictures of Pokemon in the wild. We had gotten this for the kids, but ultimately they weren't interested in it. She, however, stuck with the game and finished it, becoming quite the budding photographer in the process. Hopefully this will help her with the photos she takes for Instagram. I decided to play Jedi Fallen Order from my backlog next, as it had received a substantial PS5 upgrade. The game was not a walk in the park though, and I had my ass kicked numerous times. However, I tapped into my inner Jedi and stuck with it. And it was worth it because the game lets you pull off the coolest Jedi lightsaber tricks, including Darth Maul's double-sided lightsaber moves and Anakin's dual lightsaber wielding. Couple that with Force powers, and you feel like you are an invincible Jedi by the end of the game. That is, until Darth Vader himself shows up and scares the heck out of you in a sequence reminiscent of the ending of Rogue One. The game did exhaust me though, as the fights were pretty hardcore and draining. So I decided to play a new relatively short game called Kina Bridge of Spirits to recover. I had been wanting to play this game since the first trailer dropped because it looked jaw-droppingly beautiful. The game was made by an animation studio and gives off Pixar and Studio Ghibli vibes. However, the pretty graphics belied the game's brutal nature. Sure, the platforming was relatively easygoing, and the puzzles were never super difficult, but when it came down to the boss fights, the game really threw down the gauntlet. I died numerous times against every single one of them. But while grueling, the sense of accomplishment after beating a boss was immense, and definitely added to the overall quality of the game. I really needed a break from playing combat-heavy games, and luckily this was about the time that Nintendo released a massive update for Animal Crossing. They introduced a whole bunch of new features, such as the ability to grow crops and to cook food. Faria demanded we return to the island, and yeah, honestly, the simple life seemed pretty enticing to me at that point. Of course, she really wanted me to go back because I had made a big killing in the stock exchange and was rolling in cash. And there were many things to pay for, such as helping to open new co-op shops. This was fine with me, so I dipped in and out to buy crops, shop for things I didn't need, and buy art from a dodgy art dealer to add to the art collection in the island museum. But first, I had to kill a bunch of cockroaches that had infested my house during my long absence. Faria got the most mileage out of the game as usual. I mean, I don't know what she got up to really, as we didn't play together, but she sure has logged in a lot of hours. Kian's birthday arrived, and of course he got video games for presents. His uncle got him Sonic Colors Ultimate, which is a remaster of one of the best Sonic games. He is really enjoying it. The blue hedgehog is one of his favorite characters after all. His grandparents got him Pokemon Brilliant Diamond, which is a remake of an older Pokemon game with a new chibi aesthetic. Pokemon is another one of his favorite franchises, and it looks like he will be playing this game for a while. Of course, he still continued to play the Plants vs. Zombies games during this time. Single-player games are all well and good, but he really loves the PvP and PvE nature of Battle for Neighborville and Garden Warfare. The allure of multiplayer games is strong, and I totally get that. In fact, that was what led me to get the Xbox Series X for my own birthday, And not just any Xbox Series X, but the limited edition Halo Infinite 20th anniversary one. While I was excited about having Xbox Game Pass, which is kind of like Netflix for video games, and accessing a vast library of games including first-party ones like Forza Horizon 5 and Gears of War 5, I have to be honest, I was mainly interested in playing the new Halo game online. They released the multiplayer on the 20th anniversary of Xbox, and I have to say, it delivers in spades. I have not had this much fun playing online in a long time. The tight gameplay controls, the awesome unique weapons, and the many different game modes make Halo Infinite a pure blast to play. There's nothing like engaging in a Halo dance, chucking grenades, and running amok with a plasma sword or a gravity hammer. Other than these games, I danced briefly with the super difficult Demon Souls by From Software, which kicked my ass again and again, and Nintendo's 2D side-scrolling Metroid Dread, which ultimately also kicked my ass. These have now joined the backlog, and I'm not sure when I will get back to them, as I want to get to Ghost of Tsushima first. I also want to play It Takes Two with Faria, which looks like a really fun co-op game that we both would enjoy. And if my friends ever decide to get Xboxes, we may try out Sea of Thieves, which is a cooperative pirate game that is supposed to be a barrel of laughs. Also, there are some new games coming out in 2022 that I'm quite excited about. First up is Horizon Forbidden West, the sequel to Horizon Zero Dawn. Then there's God of War Ragnarok, which is going to rock. I think the sequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild will also be released next year, but Nintendo has been very quiet about it, so I have my fingers crossed about that one.